Welcome to The Mothers-in-Law, a podcast exploring the demanding world of being a mother and a lawyer. Join my mom, Carrie Foliani, as she shares real-life stories and practical tips to help you find joy and balance in your life. Let's embark on this journey of community and support together. This show is sponsored by General Counsel West, a law firm that supports companies transforming healthcare comprised of mothers and fathers practicing law.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Suzanne, for joining the Mothers-in-Law podcast today. We are so happy to have you here. Suzanne is the owner of an amazing law firm called the Leslie Law Firm. And we're thrilled to have you share not only about your success as a lawyer, which is so impressive, but also how you've managed to weave in being a successful mom into the mix. So I'd love to just kick it off and have you share a little more about your firm and how you fell into the law, or hopefully fell in love with the law.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I never wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh my God.
Which is different for,
Yes.
there was, you go to law school and there's those that wanted to be a lawyer and some that just went because, like me, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I did love law school, and I fell in love with the law in law school. I was quite young, so I was kind of referred to as the baby of the class. But yeah, it was interesting. When I went to law school, I went to Western State, and it was back in the earlier 80s. They had a very large part-time program.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of kind of second career people that would go to their classes either on the weekends or in the evenings. And then there was our full-time students as well.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a mix of some little bit older, more established career people, and then some younger folks like myself.
Did you find that to be enriching, though? Because you had the combination of people that were working and applying. I felt like that was part of what I had experienced as well.
Yeah, because, you realize everybody thinks when you go to law school, that means you're going to be in a courtroom all day, every day. And really what you learn from these people were they were going to law school to maybe get a promotion within their own job or do different things within their own career that really didn't have a lot to do with the law, or they were never going to go into a courtroom. They may not even practice law, but law was going to be something that aided them in their current profession.
Yeah.
So, and I think when you're younger, you don't realize that. You think, oh, everybody's going to go to law school and we're all going to,
suit up.
be in court every day. We're going to be a district attorney or a public defender because
absolutely. I think that we all walked in with that assumption,
Yeah.
But you fell in love with it.
I did.
And where did it take you after you finished?
So I did a internship, or what we used to call, I was a law clerk my second year of law school. They allow you to work. And so I worked at an insurance defense firm for a semester, and it was not my cup of tea. So I went to a firm called Allen and Flatt, and they were actually a business litigation firm. And I thought, let me see what that's like, because I really, since I didn't want to be a lawyer, I didn't know the different aspects of the law. So I went there because I had been a business major and I was interested in business. So shortly after I got there, the owner decided to market for some personal injury and kind of expand the practice. And he was a really good marketer. Okay. So cases started to come in the area of personal injury, and he looked at me and was like, let's figure out how to do this.
Okay.
So, fast forward 40 years, and I'm still there.
That's amazing.
Doing personal injury. So
but you felt the calling, towards that.
Well, I realized that I was going to have to go into some type of the law that had to do with helping people. And having personal interaction with people. I just think that's just my personality. I was kind of born and raised to,
And I think it really sets you apart. I mean, I think I got even that sense, even before we met when I was trying to figure out who you were on the planet. I was like really impressed by even the way you articulated how you help people, like coming in at kind of a difficult time in their life. It's such a hard place. Yes. But to do it with that passion, it makes a big difference.
It definitely, for all the jokes you hear around about attorneys in general, and then personal injury attorneys were even, a little bit more
special.
It really is if people do take it seriously, you realize how much impact you can have in somebody's life. Yeah. And they come into the office following an accident and they're kind of lost and they don't know what to do. And when you can just say, I got this, I've let me take this stress off of you, and you focus on recovery from your injuries, and the client I meet at the beginning of their case is a different person at the end of their case, and when you know that you've helped in that journey and that transition, it's pretty special.
I mean, it feels like exactly in some ways like motherhood.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that those skills and that expertise that you've obviously like acquired in doing that transition for many people in some of the most difficult situations helped you, when you decided to bring children into the mix?
It's interesting. I never thought of that, but absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish I knew now.
Yeah.
When I was raising my children, it comes with age, right? Is you're a little bit more wiser, I think a little bit more patient and not so judgmental. That I have learned as I've kind of gone through my career. But yeah, bringing up kids because they don't know anything, right? Yeah. And you have to raise them and show them the right ways. And
and they come with problems.
They come with a lot of
challenges.
problems. Yeah, and so it's interesting. That's a really good analogy. It is definitely something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was recently in the doctor's office with an older son, and I heard a baby crying from getting shots. And that terrifying shrill. Like that, I remember that when they were babies, the first shot. And I thought, God, that was like the end of the world. Like that pain, watching your child suffer. And I looked at him like, I could do that like all day now. Like that feels like something so much easier than the challenges you'll have in raising these humans, right? And transitioning. I'm like, I wish for that right now.
Yeah, the easy things were, going to the doctor's office for the checkup or the exam or whatever.
Right, they seemed hard at the time.
That's really, right. And you feel like you're the only one going through it.
Yes.
Right?
So how have you, so at what point because you were young when you went to law school, a lot of people, you did not have children at the time when you were in school. At what point did you decide this is a great time
that's interesting.
have kids?
So I met my husband when I started my second year of law school.
Okay.
And so, we were together through law school, through the bar exam, and I kind of went, wow, if somebody could stick with me, through that, then, maybe they're a keeper. Now, so we got married, I think my second year as an attorney.
Okay.
And he was actually still in college. He was finishing up college still. So we were not about to have any children. And I'm very much the planner.
Okay.
So it was like, okay, I will get married and then we're going to wait a while. And we were fortunate enough to be able to buy a house. And,
oh, wow.
And then, had our first. And then we're going to wait till that one's almost in kindergarten or going to kindergarten before the next one.
So smart.
Because I knew I was always going to have to work full time. I, love my husband, married an artist, which back in, the late 80s didn't equate to a career per se. Yes. So I knew that I was the breadwinner of the family, which I was totally fine with. And he was fine with, which wasn't.
Yeah.
Not all men are.
Yeah.
So, so I had to plan it to where I could feel like I could spend the time that as much time as I could with him as my husband first, and then have the child, and then another one later.
And what about, one of the things, I married a school teacher, so I find it a luxury to be able, and I find this amongst a lot of female attorneys that have been able to marry people that aren't huge income earners, and I like to say based on the quality of their character rather than the financial contribution. But that certainly comes with some tension, and I know you alluded that he was okay with it. But even how to help everybody be okay with it, because I think was it just his personality, or is it something that you guys worked on?
I think it was his personality more than anything. He was just a really easygoing person that I don't want to say never took anything too seriously, because it wasn't. That was a good quality in him, right? That wasn't a negative quality by any means. But it was a conversation that we had to have because I just knew that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to give 110%. And so, while we were dating, it's like, while we were in law school or even after law school in your first year attorney, I wasn't around that much, and he had to be okay with that. And so, you test the waters. We dated for almost 4 years before we got married.
Smart.
So it was
through some hard things.
So it's like, okay, this is either going to work or it isn't going to work, but I know me, and I'm going to have to give 110% at work all the time. And I'm in a very challenging career where women were not attorneys yet.
Yeah.
Or there weren't too many
You were
of us.
paving the way at that
Yeah,
point.
so he was never questioned it.
Yeah.
So
That's nice.
that was almost, like I said, it's okay,
Yeah.
this might work.
He was embracing that. And so
Yeah.
when the kids did come, because obviously
Yeah.
I think I love your plan. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's an orderly I mean, I had 3 kids in 3 years, not intentionally. I mean, intentionally, but like
Yeah.
it happened. And that was a different way to do it.
Yeah.
But with the planned approach, kind of, did he take responsibility? How did you guys work out that aspect of it? Was that something that...
Interestingly enough, he was a good helper in little ways, right? I felt like I still had a lot of the responsibility of, getting up in the middle of the night and being, taking them to school and doing a lot of those things that, not that we didn't co-parent, but he did all the little things. When I had to get everything done on the weekends, he would be the one that we had a daughter first, and he would just go take her and go to the park and just give me the time that I needed to kind of get the house in order to do your typical laundries and groceries. And, we never were in a financial position that we could have a nanny or anything. And having a nanny back then wasn't a thing that you heard that many.
Interesting.
Because I don't think there was as many women in the workforce per se.
Probably. Yeah, that's interesting.
So, but we also had great family support. I mean, my mom watched, the kids, my mom and dad, a couple of times a week. And then, they went to daycare a few times a week. And I was fine, with that. Because they always were in, around other kids, whether they were little to the time, the whole YMCA thing and all of that,
all
the
the fun
after school
stuff.
stuff. But he was always very helpful in the little ways to be able to take.
I mean, I
they
think
matter.
those things matter. And when you first had your daughter, you had your daughter first, what was that like for you as you started to absorb how this might affect your ability to practice law in the way that you were doing? Because you were already in a space where you're forging ahead. Because I do think even just there's a few years between our getting out of law school. Like, I think that it was even different then.
Yes.
What was that like for you?
I worked in a firm where, number one, they never had a female attorney. I was expected to work more, be there more. And I think when I had my daughter, it was like, okay, I've been working 12 plus hours a day. I've been doing this for all of this, whatever time it had been, probably 7 years by then.
Wow.
That I'd been with the firm. And I just said, now I can't do this anymore, or I won't do this anymore because I'm a mom now. And my career is super important to me, but so is me being a good mom too. Amazing. So I think it just cut the hours down a little bit.
Okay.
But I was always I've always been a very efficient worker. So I felt like you could do a lot of the same amount of work, but then you just squeezed it into a shorter period of time. And 5 o'clock came and I had to leave. I had to pick her up from daycare. And even if she was at my parents' house, there's a respect there for my parents' time. Yeah. So, and a lot of time on the road, though, because, you have to...
I mean, I think the efficiency thing is huge.
Yes.
Especially, like, we definitely have noticed, even in our own firm, that there's no more efficient attorney than one that is hoping and trying and working through of how to take care of their children and being present to them. Did that ever, I mean, that's the fact that you were doing that then without the support, without other women in the firm, like who was your go-to to like help support you in like saying it's okay to say, hey, I want to be a super attorney and a super mom, and this is how it's going to look? Because I only feel confident saying that because I have the support of people saying, yes, you should do that.
Yeah, because it probably was more my mom and my dad. I think my parents more than anything, because I didn't really have a female mentor attorney, because they just weren't around. I mean, I had friends that we went to law school with, and we all, after law school, like you all do, you go off and start doing your own things. A couple of them got married, but they didn't have children. Yeah. So I think, my mom was kind of you can do it all. Yeah. But I can also say when you do it all, and I would never change anything, but it's all about work and it's all about the kid. There's very little you time. You know, and we were still young enough, my husband and I, we would carve out the us time. And again, having parents around that could watch it so we can have a date night or something. But there wasn't a lot of Suzanne time.
Yeah. I mean,
and
how was that though? I mean, I feel like that's a suffering a lot of women today still feel. Like, is there a point when then you start finding that again? And when you look back, do you think, oh, maybe I could have not squeezed it in, but even squeeze it in, like where it might have helped you kind of absorb some of the hard impacts of being a mom and a lawyer?
Yeah, you know, it's a hard question, only because when you're going through it, you feel like you had no me time.
Yeah.
I look back and I probably, you know, had more of it than I thought, but trying to carve out a little time on the weekend to go do something that I like to do. But I can, you know, when my daughter got 5, then I had my son. So, you know, there were 5 years apart. You did it again. And then there was a period of time where, no, I didn't have, I mean, now I can go to the gym or I can do that. You know, I do a lot of different things for me, but no, I didn't.
You saved
had
it for
very
now.
little of that. But that was okay because I'm not a selfish person, which also helps. And there's nothing wrong with being selfish, but you know,
I've never figured that one out. I mean,
I'm just not a selfish person. I'm a giver, so it's okay to give to other people.
Yeah.
But we would carve out, like I said, a date night or a bike ride, or I'd take a walk, you know, with the baby or something like that. But no, it was really.
But even
I have to be honest, there wasn't a lot of me time.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's a lot of me time, but I feel like where there. Just because I feel like a lot of people are in that space, and you get overwhelmed, and I think that's where, you know, it sounds like you had an amazing family support, which I think
definitely.
Maybe I'm curious if you'd credit them with sort of helping your mental health stay at a right place, because I think sometimes when you don't have like it's that kind of support or that kind of help, you know, it's harder to like restore yourself.
It is. I used to call it the hamster wheel. I was the hamster on the wheel all day, every day.
Yeah.
But back then, I can tell you, I slept really good.
Oh, good.
And really hard, because you're just exhausted at the end of the day.
Great.
It's funny, because now I have me time as much as I want. I'm a horrible sleeper, but I
really?
always said
oh my
that.
Gosh.
Isn't that funny?
That is
I always
so
said,
funny.
At night, I was just the hard
That's a gift.
sleeper.
That is a
But,
gift.
and I think it was just more or less exhaustion.
Well, mental exhaustion, I think,
mental.
and decision fatigue.
Yeah, it's funny.
Those are the things that really.
But family is everything. And being able to have both my husband's family and my family close was really critical. I don't know how women or men or families do it without family support.
I think it's really hard. It really, adds really a new layer of kind of complexity, and then finding those people that you can trust and that you also can break down. I mean, that's the part like that you can break down in front of, and they help you pick your pieces back up together, because that's like, it's going to happen for those listeners out there that are like, oh, this seems so easy. And then all of us felt like that. I mean, I felt like, how hard could this be? And then you get kind of slapped in the face of like, wow, this is way harder. Did you ever have moments like before you had your daughter, were you like, oh, this is not going to be a big deal? Or were you just, you're a planner
like
though,
I
so
can,
maybe
you know,
not.
I always had that attitude of I can handle anything. But no, my daughter did not sleep at night very well at all. And I'd be up in the middle of the night and I would just pray, oh my God, would you please? I need you. And I remember some, mom of the year, right? You feed her and then you put her in the swing and just hope that nope, I'd doze off and then wake up and her eyes were bright as can be, having a little good time. I always used to laugh about that because I was like, God, you don't sleep
Can't win.
at all. But that's only such a, in the scheme of things, such a short period of time.
But it's hard to go to work the next day.
It is really hard to go to the work the next day.
It's fine to be up all night. And that's why I do think there's some like gender variation because they want you, like, all of that. And then, if you are the breadwinner and you are the person that's going to be doing the work, it's doing that with 3 hours of sleep.
It's really hard. And I used to have friends say, or my mom would say to me, just have your husband, my husband,
Yeah.
just have him get up.
Yeah.
But then I'm going to lay there anyway because he's not going to do it right.
Well, it's
you know,
hard.
as much as he
they
might
want it
try.
a certain way. They can try as hard as they want, but it's
No.
really a fascinating phenomenon. And I don't know if it's innate in human beings, but this is how it's worked in our family too.
Yeah. Which
and,
is okay. But I mean, I look back and we talked about this, you blink your eyes and they're older, and I would go back and I don't know if I would do any of it differently, but I always said, I'm going to remember their first steps, and I'm going to remember this, and I'm going to remember that. I don't need to write it down. I can't remember any of it.
I can't.
And that's so sad.
It is. I mean, I love the
okay.
question. My kids will say, when did I get my first tooth? I'm like,
Right.
I don't know, but you got them.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know the date, but but the things we do remember, they're especially if we weren't there for every single moment, there are these incredible, I think every mom has them when you felt that fulfillment of wow, this is kind of working out. Do you have any ones that pop out in your memory of when you felt
it's
joy?
funny because my husband, with it being Father's Day yesterday, my daughter and husband were talking. So they used to, I guess, spend more time together than I realized. So when I said he would do things on the weekends or, so he used to always video. I was back when the camcorder days, right? So he'd video her all the time. And we watched some of those recently. He'd just follow her around the house. But they always talk about how when she was 2, she always wanted her room to be moved around.
Okay.
No, I want my bed over here now. Or I want this. Or I want to change the color. And little did we know, 30 years later, she was going to be an interior designer. That's all she's ever wanted to do her whole life.
Amazing.
But they joke
Since
about
2.
that since 2. So some of the things that I remember is God, I'd come home and you go, we moved our room around again,
gosh.
or so it's
cute.
the little things that didn't seem
that connection.
that the little stories, or you'll mention something when you're talking, because my kids are grown adults now, and you go back, you say, oh, but when you were little, blah, blah, blah. And she'd go, oh, I don't remember that. Tell me all about that. So even though you don't think you remember things, I don't remember the first tooth, but I do remember the small little things, of the things that they like to do, or, putting on your little Pocahontas dress and,
right.
she loved the Titanic and, singing the song from the Titanic by the mantle of the fireplace.
Wow.
Little stuff like that.
But those are the joys.
It's the quality time.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's the difference. Mm-hmm. The time that you do spend is quality time.
Yeah.
It's definitely, because it's little time, so you make the best of it.
I agree. I think the intentionality behind our time makes it different. Mm-hmm. And I also think I feel like this with you as well, I don't know if it's a lawyer trait or if it's who we are trait, but we get to the depth quickly. Yeah. Even with my kids in conversation, because we don't have a lot of time, but we do want to connect. So navigating that, with your kids, do you have any advice, even with your grown children? Because you're still a busy, successful attorney.
I'm still working.
We're still working hard.
Full time. I think that, number one, I think we're just trained, you and I, to see both sides of everything. Yeah. So that's one thing that used to drive my kids crazy a little bit, because well, Mom, this is my side, or this is my side of the story. And well, did you think about how that might have made them feel? Or did you think that maybe this was the situation that was going on? Or, that both sides. Mm-hmm. And that used to drive them crazy. But they say now they loved that. Yeah. Because a lot of times something would be going on that they thought was going on, but it was really something different, because they never would. I mean, especially when you're younger, you only have
your view.
Yeah. And so the one thing they say as they're older is they loved how I used to share more than one view. Didn't mean I didn't support them. Yeah. Because I would always support whatever their view was. But did you think about somebody else's feeling or somebody else's different view? And my son, he should be an attorney, because he can argue with the best of them. And so he always
learned that from you.
So sometimes he'll say, well, I learned that from you.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's not always has to be an argument. It's just a point of view.
Or just how to manage a conflict, even, I think. And I do think that's, I love these observations of where a lot of our expensive legal training has helped us be better parents. Yeah. I think that's a really solid one. Are there any others that you feel like, wow, I'm catching myself luring my kids, basically?
Yeah. I think it was always pretty, like when the kids were in school, and of course, you drop them off and then you don't see them again. And when you would have like an open house or you would have the parent teacher conference, we've talked about the guilt of not being there for all the little moments, but
Yeah.
I would go into the classroom and they'd go, "Oh, so you're Kelsey's mom or Shane's mom, and your daughter or your son talks about you all the time." And they always talk about how you're a lawyer and how you help people every day. And they're so proud of you. And
That's amazing.
whenever that situation, and it happened often, I would just go back and go, okay, maybe I'm not
Oh my God.
the bad mom,
No.
right?
That they see you.
They see me, they understand what I do, they
Yeah.
care about what I do, and they're proud of me.
Yeah.
And so, of course,
Oh, that's worth it. There's a little fulfillment
that's
in there.
that little gem, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, okay, then, tomorrow I'll get up and I'll do it all over again. And me not being there 24/7 with them,
They're seeing you
they're
still.
seeing
and that's amazing.
it still, yeah. So
It's so
those were little
powerful.
things like when they were in school that
Yeah.
those type of things would come up either from, a parent, another parent, or like a teacher or something. That
awesome.
was always pretty
I
special.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And my daughter told her teacher I was a baker, so I have a long way to go. I do love to bake, but it
Yeah.
wasn't, it's just interesting how they've evolved over time to know. And it is an impressive thing, though, that your children, conveyed that so clearly to everybody that would listen.
Yeah.
You've been listening to The Mothers-in-Law with Carrie Foliani. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found the insights and stories shared helpful as you navigate your own journey. I also hope that you enjoyed listening to my mother. Not that I always do. For more resources, to connect with the community, and to continue exploring how to align your personal and professional life, visit www.themothersinlaw.com. We appreciate you.